often than not, if I've got no other evidence to support it, the mere fact that you said that this person is a surgeon or a specialist, I'm automatically going to put him in the assertive category, and I'll continue to test that hypothesis throughout the course of the conversation. But as an analyst, I know that they need to talk. I know that they need to have their ego stroked. So I'm going to do a lot less talking and a lot more listening, which is pretty much a stance you should take anyway. And then I'm going to use those asking labels to ferret out what's driving his decision. Because a person that's locked in on a decision, in this case, reconstructive surgery, and hasn't considered other options, even though the other options are out there, their reality is a miss. And so what causes someone's reality to be not aligned with what's actually going on? Emotions. What are the emotions or the driving forces here? He's a specialist. He gets paid to cut on people. He's done research. He's done studies. That's why he became a specialist. And so if I'm a specialist at making model airplanes, I'm not going to be interested in going out and buying an already constructed airplane. My specialty is putting these things together myself, even though it takes time, even though it takes a lot more energy. If that's my specialty, that's what I'm going to default to. So your failure to recognize the importance of that for him, because that's what he's screaming at you. This is what I do. This is my identity. The fact that you were wanted to talk about rehab, the MRI, other options, meant that he can't show you his expertise. And that's an affront. He's defensive because of that. And now you've spiked up in a negative emotion in his brain, which is impeding his ability to process. I don't care how long he's been a doctor. I don't care how long he's been a specialist. He's been a human being for longer than either of those. And he's got an amygdala. And when he feels threatened, that amygdala fires up. Negative emotions now bouncing around in his head, and whatever's supposed to be going on in the prefrontal cortex is not. And so you're scratching your head going, why can't he see the fact that there are other options out here prior to reconstructive surgery that we need to explore? He can't see it because he's got blinders on, because you are in that moment a threat. And no meaningful dialogue can take place as long as you are viewed as a threat.
No, you're right, Derek. And I think the Viola also has another question here, but I think that my instinct was to fight back. That's who I am. And so I almost started down that path. I actually technically did in the beginning of the conversation, and then I backed myself off, and we had a somewhat productive rest of the session. But to me, my thinking was, I don't want to have a relationship with a physician like this. I'm just going to go find another one. Right. So yeah. I kind of shut down part of the way through, because to me, I didn't need to be there. I didn't need to engage with them, and it didn't seem worth it to me. But the way you analyze the situation, if that doctor was important to me, and if I did want to continue the relationship, I should have done those things. I should have been more deferential, stroked his ego, made him feel like his expertise within the surgical domain was highly valued.
Right. Because everybody, like I said at the beginning of this, everybody wants somebody else to understand their circumstances and their perspective. And surgeons are no different. Now, the sooner you guys can identify with them, the patient load that they carry, the pressure that they're under because of COVID documentation requirements, the complexity of healthcare issues that they're up against, and they're on the front lines all the time, and they don't know when they're going to contract what from whom. And so all of those pressures and stressors are on them, and they're expected to be perfect in bedside manner and in execution. That's a lot of pressure. And most patients don't recognize that for the healthcare workers that they interact with. Most patients say, hey, it's me. I don't care what went on with the patient before me. I don't care what's going to go on with the patient behind me. This is me. And I want your full undivided attention on me and my needs, which is antithetical to how we navigate how you should be navigating difficult conversations. It should not be about you. At least for the first 75, 80% of that conversation, it should be focused on what impact does my interaction with this person in this moment have on them? And the sooner you start to think in a manner where it's not all about you, it becomes easier to defer. It becomes easier to demonstrate tactical empathy. And probably the most powerful attribute of tactical empathy is it encourages reciprocity. And so if you had gone into that conversation and told that doctor, I know you are overwhelmed right now. I know you're seeing cases coming in left and right, and it's hard for you to come up for air. And you're going to think that I'm another uneducated, needy patient who's going to dictate what my care is going to be. And quite frankly, you find that to be a pain. If you had started the conversation with that, his bluster, his chest puffing, his holier than thou attitude would have been diminished. I'm not saying it would have gone away completely, but you were taking the first steps of throwing those rocks into the creek bed so that you can get to the other side where he's standing and collaborate with him on what your care is going to look like going forward.
Thank you.